G'day everybody, and welcome to Dice It Up Gaming. I'm Len, and today I'm going to use the Army Painter, the Speedpaint Mega Set, and paint Wydshell. Now, Wydshell's a playable character out of Bardsung, which is a Steamforged Games board game. I figured test the speed paints out a bit more, because Wydshell has a bit of detail here. Now, I couldn't find any sort of color concept of him in the rule books. There wasn't much of detail with the colors, so I'm sort of sitting here trying to decide how to go about doing it. I figured, I'll just wing it and try to come up with some sort of color myself. So again, this is just me trying to work out what colors. What I'm sort of trying to work on first is his skin. So I'm sort of hoping to go for a yellow with a bit of a green tinge to it. Sort of try to get that that sort of turtle look. So what I'm going to use is the pallid bone and the, if I can pronounce this right, the malignant green at a 1:1 ratio. And hopefully this will get the colour I'm looking for. Now what I've done is I've fast-tracked some of my painting here. Even though it says speed paint, I'm not quite a speed painter yet, so they still sort of take me a little while to finish. But I must admit, they are actually quicker than the other way that I used to do it. I'm still liking them. But, as you can see here, it's come up a bit yellow, so it's the first time I'm sort of playing with mixing two colours together to see what I can get. I'm still sort of in a learning process of painting, but once again I am still enjoying it, so I do recommend, if you are thinking about doing it, get out there and give it a try. So the skin part I'm nearly done. Now, what I'm doing here is, last time I did a speed paint test. There's a video out there, I'll link it up here. And I used a wet palette for it. So I'm trying without the wet palette. So what I'm doing is I'm making sure that I got all the coverage before I get rid of the color and start again. Now, the next process I'm looking at is, I'm looking at his shell. Trying to work out what color to paint his shell. I want to go a brown, but I don't want to go a dark brown. So I'm looking at mixing the pallid bone with the dark wood. Now, can't really tell you what sort of ratio I got there, but as you can see, I've got the pallid bone up top there and the dark wood on the bottom, and I'm just going to mix the dark wood into the pallid bone and see what I can do there. Now this is something I sort of recommend for, I guess, a bit of the rookies out there, a bit like myself. Get yourself a blank white paper and just paint the colour on there. And it gives you a sort of bit of a rough idea what colours are going to come up. See, that's the original dark wood colour, and I'm just seeing if I can get it a bit lighter. It does help. Now I'm not sure if everybody else out there does this sort of stuff, but it's helped me a lot with a lot of my painting. So as you can see, I'm happy with the colour I've got. So I'm going to start painting his shell. Now as I paint his shell, there is one thing I have noticed with speed paint that I haven't quite got the knack for yet, but because it's designed to run into a lot of the crevices and all that to create shadow and leave the edges to create highlight, but I find when you're trying to paint small sort of detail, that it makes it really hard, that it just bleeds off. So just be mindful of that. What I found myself doing is I'd paint those using the standard paints. So I do all the major areas with the speed paint, and then I'll go over the smaller detail with using base coats. Now what I'm using here is the runic grey. I'm going to apply this on his shell that's holding the ropes. They're like a U-bolt, I guess you can say. I figured I'll paint them. This gives them that metal look. Now while I'm painting this, I figured I'd better sort of put something out there. Don't be scared to use your own colours. Like, this is the first time I'm just using my own concept of colours. Like I said, I couldn't track anything down. Normally I do go off a card that gives me the colours, but I'm sort of quite enjoying just painting. It's quite nice. Now what I'm using here is the coloured bone. I'm going to use this for the underbelly, these I guess his front part of the shell, and I'm also going to use it for his nose. What do you call that? The beak. I believe it's called the beak. Now I've heard a lot of when I've talked to people about painting, especially with the people just starting off, I get a lot of, I don't want to paint because I'm scared I'll make a mistake or ruin it. Now I'm hoping that this would actually help, because you're going to see here that I'm not 100% happy with his skin. Like, don't get me wrong, it looks alright, but it's not what I'm sort of after. You'll see me here a bit later on. I'll pause a little bit, and he's sort of looking a bit, I guess, on the beige browny sort of colour scheme. So you'll see that how I go about just changing the colour. Like anything, if you make a mistake, put it down, let it dry. Maybe even come the next day, give yourself a bit of a break, and get back to it. Now, let me just explain what I've used to hold my mini on here. And this is just a bit of dowel that I brought from my local hardware shop. It's I think it's about an inch, and I brought it as a length and chopped it up. It works well. It's cheap, and I just use blue tack underneath, and that keeps the mini on there, not falling off. So there's cheap ways of getting around the hobby. It can be quite dear, this hobby. But, like, there's other ways around it. But you can make up your own wet pellet as well. You don't have to go out there and spend big bucks on a wet pellet. Now, as you can see, he's coming up pretty good. But like I said before, I wasn't 100% happy with the way his skin colour came up. But, he's still looking nice. Don't get me wrong, he's going to make an impression on your board game. on your when you're playing the board game. Now this one's the hardened leather. Now I'm going to use this for his claws on his hands and feet, and also the chest. He's carrying a bit of a chest, like a small chest down there. I'm going to use that on that. Don't mind this colour. This colour actually comes out really nice, especially when you see it in a big area. Now I'm going to use the sand golem. I'm going to use it on his staff. Now, like I said, there was no sort of color concept. I figured I'd just treat it like a like he's found a bit of wood. Now you can do it either way you want. It could be a metal staff, I guess, but I figured I'd try to keep that sort of that natural look and go for a bit of, like he's picked up a I guess dead wood out of wherever he crawled out of, and figured I'd stick to that sort of colour tone. And I also used it on the on his back there. He's carrying like a sack or something. I painted it on that as well. Now the next colour I use is Zealot Yellow. I use this on, it's like he's carrying some potions on his or on his belts and rope and stuff. Now this is the bit where on these potions they got like little lines going through them, and I tried a little bit later to see if I can use and paint them, like use the speed paints and paint on it, and it just bled off into the potion. So I had to let that dry a little bit and re-go over it and go get some base paint and use that to paint over the lines. Now the next colour I use is the dark wood, and I'm going back over his staff. I'm going to keep that theme of making it look like wood, and this is going to use this for the bark on it, just to show that it's still got a bit of bark on it. And I'm also going to use it on his net. You'll see a net dangling down the bottom there. I'm going to put the dark wood into the gaps there to make that a little bit sort of like a dark brown. This colour here it's a nice sort of dark brown colour. It is quite nice. Now there's been this bit of an issue that reactivates. I didn't have that issue when I was sort of painting here. I did on, I've got, like I said, I've got another video product test out there. I did have that reactivation issue, but it was only when I was painting my varnish on where I had it, and the other time I used was when I painted X-Men Marvel United minis there, and I painted over with white and used the Zealot yellow actually, and that bled into my white. I struggled to get the white back, but using it here I didn't have that issue. I guess that after a while you sort of, if you know it does it, you sort of get used to it and you try to prevent it. Now what I'm using here is the pallet bone again, and I'm going to go over the rope. I'm going to use it on the rope, and then paint over his netting as well. I'm just going to paint over all the netting because I've done the dark wood into the gaps of the net. It shouldn't really affect it much at all. Now, yes, you may notice I did forget to do a bit of the rope, but I do come back later and finish that one off. Honestly, I don't know how I forgot to do that one, but I guess you can. That's when I use the Greylord Grey, and I'm just going to paint over. He's got some, I guess, scrolls or parchments, maybe. Sort of spells on his belt there, and what's holding the belt, I'm just going to paint the holding the, I guess, the spells or whatever it is, scrolls. I'm going to paint that, and he's got some fish on the back. I'm going to paint that as well. And I'm also going to use it to paint his medallion that's hanging around his neck. The chain part as well with this color. Now I'm going to use the plasmatic bolt and paint the medallion that's hanging off his chain. Now this next part, I figured I'd try out some colours that I haven't used before. Sort of just have a bit of fun with some colours. He's got some, I guess, like starfish and shells on his back there, and figured I'd try out some colours and see how they go with them. I used the purple alchemy and the fire giant orange. We'd you know, give this one a go, have a bit of fun with it. And I'm really pleased with the way it sort of came out. Came up really nice. I even tried use the blue as well. Now this part here, if you recall back a bit where I said I wasn't too happy with the colour of his skin, this is where I'm deciding should I change it? Should I go the orc skin? And I'm also looking at his shell, the back end of his shell as well. See if I can darken that one up as well. But I don't want to go too dark with his shell. So as you can see, look, by all means, he does look pretty good. It's just not the sort of color concept that I was after, and it goes with that that saying out there: if I make a mistake, I'm scared I'll ruin it. And this is pretty much it. I made a mistake. I'm sort of trying to look at see what I can work in, and sort of I'm trying a different color at the moment while I work it out. Now this color here is the holy white. I'm painting it over the scrolls. I don't mind this white. It's like a grey sort of white color. I'd used it for the X-Men United. For Storm Grey, not for Storm, sorry. And I had to go back over and just use plain white to help highlight it a bit. But it comes up really nice. So I'm here still sort of trying to decide which way to go with the colour. And as I'm looking at it, I sort of look at his potions, and I'm going to go back over it again, over his potions there with Zealot Yellow, and sort of darken them up a little bit. I'm still sort of trying to decide whether to use the Orc Green for the skin. I know I used the Orc Green once before with a product test and can come up quite dark. I'm sort of not, I don't want his skin to be a dark green. So I'm sort of, as I'm thinking about it, I figured I'd just do something else. Now while I'm doing this, I'm not sure if you remember what I said back before, how I tried to use the Army Painter Speed Paint to paint some small lines. It was on the potions that I tried to do it as well. And you can see this potion here, you can sort of see it has discolored a little bit. So you can see sort of bled into the potion as well. So that's what I mean. I sort of have a bit of difficulty painting thin lines with it. So I figured instead of struggling with it, I'll just use base paints and they can paint the thin lines. And this is Wydshell. He looks, he's come up pretty good. I'm just not happy with the skin at the moment. It's sort of going that sort of yellowy sort of colour. And the back of his shell, and I want it to be a little bit darker. He sort of come across a bit sort of light in the colours. I figured, what the hell? Let's give it a go with the orc skin. But what I do is, you'll see me here, I'll try to dilute it down with a bit of water. So this is the finished product. Like I said, I've diluted orc skin green down, and it's come up pretty good. I don't mind it. It's not what I was after, but it's still come up pretty good. Now I'm gonna work on the shell. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna dilute this down again, same way I did with the green, and hopefully it'll darken it up a bit. Okay, so this is again, it's the finish when I've added up. I tried to make the shell a bit darker and went with a different colour for the green. I'm quite liking it. Had me doubts, but quite like it. And if you have a look on his neck, I had to go back over the chain, a bit of grey, and sort of bled onto his neck there. But I sort of got to it and fixed that up a bit later on. But, yeah, he's coming up really nice. I just got to do a bit of the fine touches at the moment. Got to do some of the fine lines. I'm still sort of thinking about if I can add a bit more colour to his skin. But this is him. I've painted the base, and if you have a look, I've did some of the fine touches on the potions and the netting. And if you can see it, I did add a bit of a sort of a bony, sort of yellowy colour into his skin a bit more. And with his eyes, I used it was wolf grey for his eyes. And that mark on his neck's gone. I fixed that up, and he's ready for coating, so I can seal him up. Put a bit of sort of varnish on him. That's my my homemade spray booth in the back. That's what I use. I use an airbrush. He's come up good. I had to with his shell, sort of went back over it with a shade, sort of with a wash. Can't quite remember what the wash was. Just to try to get it a little bit darker in certain spots. I didn't go fully over it. This is the varnish I use. I use a satin varnish. Normally I use a gloss, but I was all out of the gloss. So I had a satin one here. I'm going to spray it with satin first. And then I'll let that dry and hit it with a matte, and that's my matte. There's my airbrush. So here I am testing it out, and then away I go. Now it might seem that I'm putting a fair bit of coat on there, but it wasn't really sort of spraying that firmly out. Had on a fine spray, and all I do is just let him sit for, I think it's about 4 or 5 hours, and it might even be 6 hours actually. And I went back over it with the matte. So this is him with the finish with the satin on it. You can see the sheen, a bit of a shiny surface to it. Look, if you're happy with the satin or even a gloss, just put another coat onto it. I always put 2. Now normally I spray them outside. It's quite a windy day outside, so I had this set up on the table. Just put a cardboard box, decided to spray in there, and hope to hell it didn't go anywhere apart from the box. And this is Wydshell for the finished product. As you can see, I went over it with a bit of fine detail, and that was before I varnished it. But yeah, he's ready and raring to go. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Happy gaming.